Hi, today we're going to be talking about deformers. Pardon my nasally voice. I was doing some yard work and I have allergies, so they're extra bad right now, but I'm going to try to get through this. So Nomad does not have a native deform tool, but we're going to be using the stamp tool to achieve this. I also created some brushes in Procreate, and don't be put off by that. It's very easy to do. Also, don't get excited about it because I did not do a great job. And what you're going to find is for this experiment, and I'm going to calling it experiment because some of the results are going to be like, I don't know how I'll use it. So I'm going to show you some experimental ones and then some practical uses for the deform. So yeah, don't get excited about the brushes. I really put almost no effort into them because that's how much I care about these tutorials. So let's talk about what a stamp tool does. And over here in the right tool panel, you'll see stamp. And stamps are driven by a black and white image. Sometimes they're called alphas. And you can find that down here. So if I tap on here, you can see these are all black and white images. And what happens when we use it is that the white parts of this image will be extruded. So there's a couple factors that relate to when you use the stamp tool. And one of them is just your brush size here, but also the intensity. And I think that's the more important one. Intensity will determine the height at which the white part of your image is extruded. So let me show you that. I'm going to tap, drag out. Let me rotate it so you can see. So it's extruding the white part of our target image. I'm just going to bump it a bit more. Let's try it again. You can see here, and then, I'll go to 100. This actually goes past 100, by the way. You can go up to I know you can go up to 1,000 because I was playing with it, but you might even be able to go beyond that. So that, so there's the extrusion, it's called intensity, but that will determine the height. If you use sub with stamp tool, let me show you what that does. It's just subtracting. Instead of adding, it's subtracting. So subtract sub. So it's just an inversion. Very cool though. You can see why you would use stamps because they give you a lot of interesting detail. And some of these details would be really hard to achieve, especially if you're using hard edged. So if you're into hard surface modeling, stamps are great because you can use sharp corners and get hard edged details. So for my example, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to have a very feathered image. So why don't we go over and just go into Procreate and let's make a brush. So here we are in Procreate. I just added a square canvas. And when I came in here, I actually had a white background. So you can just tap this icon, tap the layer that says background color, and then just switch it to black. And then in the top right corner, you have this white circle. If you have something other than white, go ahead and pick white. And then just pick a brush that's soft. Under airbrushing, there's actually a brush called soft brush. So that's perfect. And then if you have access to this, hand your pencil to a baby and then just let that baby scribble in the middle. And then grab the pencil from that baby, tap on this magic wand icon, and then go down to Gaussian blur. And then with your finger, tap on the screen and drag right. And this will be how you apply how much blurring you want. Somewhere around there is good. And then that's it. And then just all day long, you can have that baby making brushes. And then before you know it, you'll have this huge library of brushes. So come up to the wrench icon and then do PNG. That's, lossless. And then just tap save image. That'll go straight to your photo library. So let's come over to Nomad again. And we can import that brush by just coming down here, tapping on this, tapping on the import button, go to your photos, pick that baby's brush, a talented baby's, and now we have a brand new brush. The reason why there wasn't a lot of effort put into these brushes is because we're not going to really use it for fine detail. We're going to be using it for a deformer. So the way that I would recommend you set up kind of your Nomad before you start this is pinch and zoom. So 2 fingers on your screen, pinch and zoom. Shrink your geometry down somewhere around here and place it in the top left, not way up here, but somewhere around here. Reason why I say this is because we're going to tap on our geometry and then we're going to drag, and we need this travel distance here. And if it's too big, then obviously you're not getting enough distance. And the reason why I'm not putting it all the way in the top corner is because I actually tap and drag out, and then to get variation, I swing my my pencil around. I even kind of orbit my geometry. So why don't we just do it so you can see it? And what I'm going to do, I'm going to add in, just for a little more fun, I'm going to add in symmetry. So if you haven't used symmetry before, it will mirror. Let me come up to our symmetry menu that's up here. Right, turn on X, the X axis, and you can see this line that sort of tells you where it's going to mirror. So meaning if I tap on the left, it's going to mirror on the right, and if I do on the right, it's going to mirror on the left. Also, I realized I'm half sub on. I'm going to undo. Okay, so again, pinch and zoom, kind of put it over here. So let's tap now on our geometry, and I'm going to pull back. And now I'm kind of, like I said, I'm waving my pencil around like a magic wand. And you can see it's kind of turned our geometry into this ball of liquid. I always think of that ferrofluid. I don't know if you know that reference, but it's that black oil-like liquid that when you magnetize it, it does all these really cool kind of movements like this. So right now, we've taken what would normally be a stamp. So this is that's a stamp. It's sort of putting a detail on top of a sphere. But on the whole, we still see a sphere. Deform would be taking that and then taking it to an extreme where no longer would you think this is a sphere. So that's what I mean by the deform part. So where you tap, so meaning I look at the little red dots, if I tap there or there or there, it actually matters, and which way I pull matters. So I tapped on the bottom and now I'm dragging downward. And you remember how I mentioned the intensity? I think we're still kind of high. I'm going to bring it down to roughly 40. I'm going to undo. I'm going to tap on the bottom and pull down. And right away, you might be like, what am I supposed to do with these shapes that you're showing me? Yes, they're very, like I mentioned, it's an experiment. They're very niche. Like you would probably use them more in a scenario where you're looking for creature creation, monsters, alien-like shapes. I have symmetry on because a lot of times I'm looking for something maybe to jumpstart a character, some kind of interesting, alien animal kind of thing. Also note that you can, so I've stopped, but I can tap again and add, another layer of this, and I can play with my intensity. We can also just tap and just switch over to a new brush, apply that one. I feel like the strength of it is not layering many of them, but just finding a good single starting one. Also, I love looking at these I wish I could keyframe animate this kind of stuff within Nomad. It's very hypnotic. I would probably be making animations all day long if this were possible. So that is I just wanted to point out that's something you could do, and you could mess around with a lot of different styles of brushes. I was showing you some pretty simple ones because I find that the simpler, the better. Here's another one. That's kind of cool. I do like that a lot. I don't know what it would be, but just these. So if you were wondering what the base brush is, it's kind of these little squiggly lines, but pulled back. The further you pull back, you can see it gets even. It's really only looking at kind of one of those lines at this point. So let me show you a couple other techniques. So we had symmetry on, which was here, and then we went up to the symmetry settings up here. So we had X on. I'm going to actually undo. We had X. You could turn off X and turn on Y, and then it would be mirrored up and down. And there's even an option for Z, which is front and back. You can, at any point, turn them all on. This can get either really hectic or very interesting, depending on what kind of brush. I'm going to try the X brush here. Oh, let me turn on show line here. That way our lines will stay on. So what's going to happen is when I tap, it's going to mirror in all of the spaces between the lines. So here, this one's kind of fun when you don't actually, you kind of keep it more of a stamp, but you get these. But it's really cool because it's so symmetrical on all angles. So that's one way to play with it. I'm going to undo again. One of my favorite ways to play with it, saving best for last here. Tap on here, turn off Y and Z, so we'll just keep X. And then tap on the radial for X. Let's bring that up to 7. Let me just show you when I tap somewhere. You can see all these red dots, 7 of them. This is almost as if there were 7 Apple pencils touching it at the same time. And now if I pull back, I get this it's kind of like, this art piece that you could stand. I like these just because I like just the mirroring on two sides, but the radial part of it really makes it fun because then there's some consistency, there's some pattern to it, but it's mirrored. So here, let's do a couple of these. Let's try, the new brush the baby made. And again, oh man, I wish I could keyframe animate these. So fun. You might be noticing how much like texture is being added. That is actually due to my image, the image that we made. There's probably noise in it. I bet if I increased the scale of the image, if I made it by like 6,000 by 6,000 pixels, it would help reduce, having a higher resolution might reduce the some of that. But you can easily do the smooth brush tool on it, and especially with turning on X, Y, and Z for your symmetry when you use the smooth brush. If you're curious what I'm talking about, you could turn this on. I could turn it down to 3, 3, 3. And I like to turn on local. And now I'm going to be using my smooth brush. Did that work? Okay. Smooth brush. Let's take a closer look. I'm going to tap, pull it back. I'm just pulling it back. And you can see it works as a Gaussian blur. There's still some up here. I can tap again, pull one more time. It's like a star field, and you see all these like dots dancing. It's thinking. It's doing some hard work here to process this. So it's kind of like there's a hidden progress bar happening right now. Hopefully this doesn't crash. Oh, I just tapped the screen and they disappeared. So look how nice and smooth that was, and I didn't have to move around my object, look like doing each piece. So that's a trick for smoothing that I like to use. So just to recap on that one, enable symmetry, turn on X, Y, and Z, turn the radials to 3, switch to local, and then just use your smooth brush. Okay, undo. I guess we could leave that. I want to show you one other thing. Before I do that, I'm going to tap up here. I'm going to turn off show line just to get rid of our lines. So here's another fun thing. This is not a deform trick, but come up to your scene menu here, hit add, come down to repeaters. I'm going to turn on curve. This is a curve repeater. I'm going to tap this white dot and pull it out. If you watch my chain shot video, you might already know where I'm headed with this. So take a look at your scene now. You have a layer called curve. It's like red text here. That gives us access to these invalidated controls for a path. The fun one is the count. Tap on that and drag it out. And our original shape is sitting right here on the very end. Let's tap on the scene menu. Let's pick our sphere. Let's tap the gizmo tool right here. If you don't know, I hope you know the gizmo tool. But if you're brand new, this is the thing that lets you move, scale, and rotate. So we're going to grab this blue handle. I actually have snap on if you didn't notice that. 90 degrees. I'm going to grab the blue handle and pull it. And now look at our shape. It's kind of, in some way, it's kind of spinal. I think, every time you use this tool, it kind of makes things feel like a spine. But there's gaps between it. I can start to close those gaps. You can do things like, can I enable twist? I can't. You tap twist twice. I can do things like this. Kind of starts to feel like dragon scales or a snake. And then if I tap radius one more time, so you can see, watch when I'm tapping radius, there's like 1, 2, and 3 options. Just go to the 2. I shrink down one side here. I come back to my count, increase it. And now we've got this very interesting, so I made that deformed shape. And if you ever want to see what the original shape is, come over to this menu, just hit the I for the curve layer, and then you'll be back, tap here. You'll be back to just seeing this. Your curve and all that work is not gone. You just need to unhide it by tapping the eyeball. So yeah, this is pretty cool looking. I don't know what it is, but that's the whole point, is giving you or getting you sort of your creative juices flowing about like what you could do with Deform plus some other things. Let me show you one more. And here, actually, I don't even have to recreate the path. Select your sphere here, and let's call this, I'm going to tap here and hit name. I'm just going to call this, I don't know, shape 1, because I'm not creative right now. Okay, shape 1. Okay, and then we're going to come up to add, hit add, and I'm going to hit sphere again. And I'm going to come up to, let's just increase our post subdivision to 6. And let's hit validate right here. Okay, I'm going to turn off shape 1. So you can see I added a sphere, but it's kind of hidden because we have our other shape that's a little bit larger. But if you hide it, this looks like a really gross worm thing. the sphere have adopted the same properties as shape 1. So it's living on the same path. It's got the same amount of the same count because it's using the same path, 24. So you can do things, what you can even turn on the original shape. Now we can do things with our shape here. Let me see if I can pull up the gizmo settings. So I'm going to tap this outer tan ring. This is my scale. So you can do things like this, like I'm sort of marrying the two shapes. I've got spheres kind of large, so you only get this peaking of the other shape. Again, experiments. I tried to set up this video so that you guys wouldn't be, completely appalled at, by the 15-minute point that we're probably at, going like, what the hell am I learning right now? Contemplating your subscription to this channel at this very moment. But this is hopefully just, hopefully you see some potential. Let me just do this real quick. I'm going to turn off shape 1. Let's go to our stamp tool. Let me go to this target one. And we have symmetry still on. I'm going to tap and pull. That's twisting. Very weird. Okay, I'm going to come up here, hide our curve. And then I'm going to come back up here. And then I'm going to just turn on show line because I kind of need to know where okay, here's our split. So I'm going to tap here and pull out. Okay, let me undo and increase our intensity. I'm going to try to tap right on the edge and pull outward. Oh, it's distorting. Okay, well, we've got sort of this mechanical shape now. I'm going to come back over here now and just turn on our path, our curve repeater. I'm going to go to the curve repeater. I'm actually going to turn twist completely off. And I'm going to come to our sphere. What I'm doing is I'm going to rotate this, kind of looking for, I'm going to turn off our snap. I'm trying to look for this kind of thing. So I've just rotated it so they're in line with each other. I'm going to tap my curve here again. I'm going to bring the count down. And now we've got like this kind of mechanical octopus thing going on. Okay. I said I would do some practical ones because these were very experimental and you may not have even enjoyed any of that. So here's a practical one for you. I'll give you 2 scenarios to finish this out. I'm going to come up to add and I'm going to add a plane. And now I'm going to tap my gizmo and I'm going to tap snap. It's at 90. If you don't have 90, you can tap on that and type in 90. And then I'm tapping on my screen and dragging with my finger. I'm going to grab this red ring, which is our red rotation handle. Tap that and pull it once so that our plane is upright. I'm going to tap on the gizmo so we can get our invalidate tools. I'm going to pull it out. We're going to make it a flag. We're going to use Deform to make the flag look like it's waving in the wind. One other thing to help the flag look is we need a pole. So I'm going to bring in a cylinder, tap cylinder. I don't need 2 of these radius on, I just need 1. So I'm going to tap it back to 1. I'm going to grab this handle here, drag it down roughly. I'm going to come over to our gizmo, tap the red arrow, pull it over to the side. I'm going to tap gizmo again. I'm going to raise this up just a tiny bit and pull this down. And you can decide if you want to tap this radius control, make it smaller again. I think that's good. Okay, so the one that we're focusing on is we're going to apply a deform, the stamp deform to the flag. And we need to validate our flag. Before I do the validate, I'm going to come up to the 3 dots here. I'm going to go to our division X here. I'm just going to move it up to right around 200. And then I'm going to hit validate up here. Validate. Okay, so we have our stamp tool active still. I'm going to come down to the image that drives this. I'm going to look for, I have this one. It's 4 wavy lines. I'm going to use this one too. I'm going to use the 4-1. Okay, and let me just show you what that looks like. Oh, I don't want symmetry on. I'm going to turn symmetry off for this one. Here's what my brush looks like. So I made 4 squiggly lines, and just like the other brush that we made, I just applied a Gaussian blur to it. So just literally drew 4 wavy lines and then blurred it. Okay, so I'm going to undo. I'm going to shrink down like before. I'm going to pinch and zoom, put our geometry kind of up in the top left. And now I'm going to tap on our geometry, pull back, and then I'm going to rotate by kind of moving left to right. Here, it's blowing kind of, I think the ins and the peaks and valleys are a little too much, meaning I'm going to undo, bring this intensity down to 20, and then let's just try it again. Tap, something like this. Let's see, maybe like that. Okay, so there's a practical, use of warp or deform, sorry. So stamp tool, pull back really far and you get a deformer. There you go. There's a flag. Hopefully that's believable. And then one more thing. Okay, and then we're going to come up to the add, and I'm going to add a tube. Come over here now and pick curve. I'm just going to draw a straight line, or attempt to. I don't need this extra point yet, so I just dragged it onto another point and then they merge. I'm going to turn on my radius to have 2 active, and then I'm going to pull this down somewhere around here. I'm going to pinch and shrink this a bit. I'm going to tap this white dot, pull it out even more. And now we can maybe just do a little bit. So I just tapped anywhere on the line and I'm creating 2 extra points. Okay. And okay, now we can come up and validate this. We can also go to the 3 dots menu if you want to do a little more geometry. So division X, I'm increasing to 60. Now we'll hit validate. And here I'm going to come over to our stamp tool again. I'm going to come down to our image. I have a 3 dot one here, this one. Literally 3 dots, and then I blurred them. I really went all out on these brushes. Yeah, take a look for my Skillshare course on making brushes. Also have a master class. I'm joking, because my brushes are terrible. Okay, so we don't need this intensity too high. We might turn the brush radius up a bit. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm just pulling. Again, I need lots of travel distance here, but let's take a look from the side. Tap, pull, and I'm just going to keep doing this a bunch of times, and I might even rotate it, pull it from different angles. Because what I'm trying to do is create randomness for like a tree branch. And it all depends on your intensity. Because if I went too high, then this would get like weird. So I kept it pretty low because I just want some subtle, branches. Their shapes are, very wiggly. So that's pretty good. And then you could even come up to the tube tool one more time, tap another one. You got another branch. I keep forgetting to hit curve. Drag that. Now I got one more branch. I'm going to turn on, I'm going to come over to our radius. I got this, I'm going to go to view. Okay, I'm going to come over to this control, shrink it down a little bit, and move this point kind of inside the other one, so it's more like that branch. And then I'm going to tap radius one more time so that we have 2, and then I'm going to, do the same thing. So we have a branch coming off there. I'm going to go to 3 dots. I'm going to also bring this up to 60, and let's hit validate. I'm going to go over to our stamp tool. We can use the same brush. Again, just experiment with all kinds of brushes. Like put that baby to work. And then I'm going to get child labor notice for this video. I don't condone it. Make sure it's, like your brother or sister's child, make sure they consented to Nomad brush making. I'm going to just take I'm going to go to my gizmo. Just going to move it up so that the branch isn't sticking out the other side. And then, yeah, you can keep going with this. I think you get the point. If you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm just tapping, pulling away, tapping, pulling away. That's literally it. That's all I'm doing with the stamp tool. So let's see, let me tap this part. You might increase it just slightly, just to get a little bit more wiggle. Let me try one of these wavy brushes on it, see how that goes. You can rotate by, moving your pencil in a sort of a circle motion until you like the direction of it. But if you're looking for like a real scary Halloween, I don't know, not really loving that one. I think the 3 dots were, stamp, tap here. I got 4 dots. I'm really up in my game. Nope, back to 3 dots. And bring our radius down. Yeah, if you're going for trying to find that really creepy tree, I think the more you do this, the longer you do this, the creepier the branches start to feel. I have to tap that object. That's why that's not working. Boom. Okay, I won't go on forever. But hey, that's pretty cool. I think realistic enough to pull off. And then you add some, again, you could use the stamp tool. And if you have like a bark texture image, black and white image, if you're curious, like you don't have Procreate and you don't have a 2D tool to generate, this image part of it, you can just search the internet for alpha brushes and you're going to find a ton of black and white images. And you can be very specific. If you're looking for like tree bark alpha brush, you're going to find it. They may be purchased. You might have to pay for them, but there's probably going to be some free ones out there too. You could also just take a black and white real picture of tree bark and then turn it black and white, and that would work too. I would kind of increase the intensity, the contrast intensity, just to help it along. But there you go. So there's the practical uses, the flag and this tree branch. So Hopefully that wasn't just a total waste at the beginning for some of you, but I find it really fun to experiment with just random brushes and see what shapes I get. It'd be a fun challenge to say, like, you have a minute to play with like one of these Deform brushes, and when the minute's up, you have to build something out of whatever you made, whatever your shape looks like. But for another time. Thank you for watching. Keep making things, and I'll see you next time.